tattooed my head because then I didn't have a choice. I guess my odds of being hired at a regular company were lessened. And with business, it's just like, what can I come up with? What can I do? And just like with Legendary USA, it's like...
Welcome back to another episode of Intrepidus Podcast with your hosts, Dan and Anthony. Today's guest is Ricky for episode number 41. Welcome to the show, Ricky.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate you being here. Ricky, you own two companies around the Legendary brand. Can you tell us a little about what they are?
The first one is Legendary USA. It is a leather-driven company aimed more at the rider, the person that rides a motorcycle. Doesn't matter what kind of motorcycle, whether it's a street bike or a Harley or anything like that, but that's what we do. We make leather jackets. You can check everything out at legendaryusa.com. Everything that is the Legendary brand is sourced and made in America. And the second company that I have is called Legendary Machine Works. It's an excavation company, basically. We do everything from utility lines on people's houses to land clearing, grading, all that stuff. So it's been all right.
So how do you go from leather to digging?
So growing up, my father had a demolition company, and he also had a sewer company, digging utilities, digging in the street, road openings and things like that. So that's what I grew up around prior to enlisting in the Marine Corps. And so it's what I knew. And once I made some money to afford a machine, because they're very expensive, then I said, all right, well, what am I? Because I just didn't want to be boxed in with just Legendary USA. I wanted to do something else. And I don't want to say having machines is like a recession-proof industry, because it's not, you know what I mean? But there's always something that a machine is needed for, and that's what I wanted to aim at. I'm not boxing myself in at what I do with the machine. I'll do whatever you need me to pick a horse up. Like, yeah, no problem. If you're paying, I'll go move that horse. You know what I mean? I'm not wrapping the straps around it. You got to do that. But whatever you need me to do with the machine, we could definitely do.
So let's take this back. You talked about the Marine Corps. Let's talk about why you enlisted, when you enlisted, through the time that you were there, and the person that you were when you started, and maybe the person that you are today because of the Marine Corps.
Why I enlisted into the Marine Corps was because I just kept having a vision of what I did not want to do for the rest of my life, such as wearing the same suit, driving the same minivan, having the same briefcase, going into the same office as the guy walking in front of me into that building. I didn't want to do that. That was a huge fear. Plus, I believe I was like 19 years old. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I just was like, I came home with my gay dad, joined the Marine Corps. He's like, no, you didn't. And he like walked away from me. I didn't even like pay attention. He's like, yeah, this kid's full of shit. Like the Marine, and I'm like, no, I'm dead serious. I told my mom, and she was like, oh my God, having a
meltdown,
panic attack. I'm like, nah, we're fine. And I joined. I went to boot camp. I left in January. But in my brain, I'm like, I thought I was outsmarting the system. I'm like, South Carolina, it's hot during the summer. Be warm in the wintertime. It wasn't warm. But you're going outside at 5 a.m. in these hoochie daddy shorts and a T-shirt and running. And so I thought I pulled a quick one, but I didn't pull a quick one on that. You know what I mean? Uncle Sam always gets his, as they say. But went in. Went to boot camp, graduated, came home for a couple days, and then I went to all the training that was required. And I'll never forget, it's a funny story. I'm in the smoke pit. I don't know anybody. I just got my unit in North Carolina. And I'll never forget, his name was Corporal Schilling. Dude was huge. And he comes out eating like his meal prep. And this is like 07, before 06, before like Marine Corps, meal prep was cool. And he's like, hey. And there was 3 other kids in the smoke pit that I had no idea who they were. Never met them a day in my life. They were standing 5 feet from me, but I didn't know them. he was like, you. And he called all 4 of us over. And he was like, all right, you guys got to pack your shit. You're going to Iraq. I go, wait, pack my shit? I didn't even unpack my shit. I literally just got here. He's like, yeah, well, you're going. I'm like, for what? He's like, the war, you fucking idiot. And he just turned around and walked away. I was like, all right, I'm going to war. Like, I literally just got here. I'm going to war. I'm like, okay. Went to Iraq. It was 7 months. We were the unit that opened up the Syrian border. We were the first ones to open up the Syrian border. And that was in 2007. In 2010, when my sister was in high school, she was a senior. It was in her new edition history books, which was pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
were you shitting bricks or were you like, hoorah?
no, fuck no, I was not hoorah. I don't know what I was doing, to be honest with you. I'm like, what do I do? Like, but in my brain, that mentality is like, well, I can't be a bitch. You know what I mean? I'm like, gotta do this. And I did it. And, you know, but one thing that I can say about that is, like I said, I think I was 19. But what was pretty cool about it was the people that I have in my life now. You know what I mean? People that aren't, or that are no longer in my life, that I left to Iraq with. You know, I got good memories, and I got some funny stories to tell my son. And depending on what story and how old he is, you know, what story he gets. You know what I mean? Right. But I got a lot of good friends. I got people all over the country. No matter where I am, I could call somebody, and I'll get whatever help if I need help, or if I just want to do some catching up. You know, so it, you know, I don't want to say a gift and a curse, you know what I mean? But it was a great learning experience. And, yeah, I guess I could say a gift and a curse, actually, as far as like after the Marine Corps, because it's very hard. And, you know, people struggle with it. You know, they say that 22 veterans a day commit suicide. And, like, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I understand it. You are part of something that is as everybody knows, the greatest fighting force in the world. And when you get out, it's like you don't know what to do because you're constantly told what to do from the first day of boot camp. But from getting on the bus to go to boot camp, you are told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and you're also told how slow you're doing it. You need to hurry up. You know what I mean? So you get out, and there's no what do you do?
Yeah, so you go from this extremely structured place where you don't even have to really think. You just do, and you go into the real world, and you have no guidance, no laws. You know, not
literally
no laws.
Lawless, dude. Like literally lawless.
Yeah, compared to what you had before, right? Literal boot camp 24/7. You have to be here at this time, do this thing. That's it. Eat at this time, shit at this time.
Yep.
5 minutes to shower, get to work, right? So what do you do when you come back? What's the first thing that you do?
I guess like smoke pot. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, I mean, I'm not into pot, but getting out, what I will say is getting out, it's fun until it isn't. Mm-hmm. Because then reality sets in. It's like, dude, I have no idea. To be completely honest with you, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was 24. But when I started the Marine Corps, like before the deployment, like I didn't think I was going to get to 20. I in my brain, as messed up as it may sound, and I'm sure like other people that were in the military, especially the Marine Corps, like I didn't have a plan for 25 because I'm like, probably not even going to get there. So but like you said, you don't have time to think. So you're not in there planning your great escape. Like, I'm going to come out and I'm going to do this. Like, you don't, because until your date, your EAS date comes, you're still in the mix. You know what I mean? You're still be here, do this, do that, you know? And but what I will say is like being that young, you learn, and being in charge of other grown adults, like it helps you. That was one positive that leadership. I can say, yes, I can grab attention and maintain someone's attention or a group of people's attention. But on the curse side of it is, in the Marine Corps, I was like, well, shut up and just do it. Just get it done. You know what I mean? And that doesn't transfer here. it in real life. It does not.
So
because-
I'm listening to you talk, and I see like different emotions coming: strong, weakness, strong, weakness. And I'm not saying a weakness, but you can see yourself, coming down. While you were in the Marine Corps, what kind of stuff did you witness that maybe like? Because I see the emotion. I see you talking about some of the brothers that you'll never see again. Like how do you deal with this? Because I know it's a major difficulty when people leave the Marine Corps, and even when people don't exit and they see people who couldn't come with them or were going to go with them. Like, how does all this stuff go through your head? Because someone on the other side like us that's never dealt with it, we don't know how to understand people like you.
And to be honest, people like me don't even understand how to understand people like us. It's there, you can't show weakness. So it's like removed from your body. And you just become, you don't have time basically to stop and mourn or stop and reflect, because you're just in the moment as the ball is rolling. And that was another thing, like the empathy, there's a bunch of emotions that you turn off. And, if you leave the headlights on in your car for long enough, like the battery is going to die, like, and that battery is no longer good. And, you either have to jump it or charge it. And that's what I'm still deciphering and like going through, like those emotions, like how to and when to, because it's just something you shut off and you just forget about it. It's, out of sight, out of mind for long enough, even if you do your 4 years. 4 years of not having that emotion, it's kind of like, if somebody was your best friend, you didn't talk to him for 4 years, you could, the 5th and 6th and 7th year, you would just still not talk to him because that out of sight, out of mind thing. But it's very hard to decipher. And I feel like, I want to say everybody struggles with it when they get out. And things now are getting a little bit better with the VA as far as like resources and PTSD clinics and things like that. It's because PTSD is kind of, in the last however many years, has a spotlight shined on it, where it was like, the guys before me, like in previous wars, their PTSD wasn't a thing. What do they call it? Shell shocked? Oh, they're shell shocked. You know what I mean? And right now, if you think of like the stereotypical, like, oh, crazy veteran, like, guy was in Vietnam. You know what I mean? Like, because like they just dealt with it. And that's also hard, because I feel like more people indulge in the, oh, I have PTSD, or, oh, that type of stuff for attention.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going
the
to say
victim
they opened
mentality.
it up and made it something. Now everyone's like, oh, I suffer, because they want to feel in some certain way.
Or they want some sort of attention or
right.
benefits, or just in human nature trying to gain whatever.
This is the
one
society
can.
we live in right now, right? It's a victim mentality 24/7. So if you could blame your personal trauma or failings on the government, then why not do so?
And yeah, you're right. You're
Right.
100, like depression. I didn't think depression was a thing when I was growing up. You know what I mean? I'm 38 years old, but I wasn't talked. I didn't even know what that was.
Right.
But depression, like, but yes, like you said, the victim mentality, and people love to indulge in that and let that become them, and that is their identity. And then you have a bunch of victims walking around. What does that look like?
So when you had to overcome something in business, did anything that you learned in the military, any disciplines that maybe you were taught during in the Marine Corps, help you get through any issues that you recently faced?
Absolutely. I would think like one of the biggest one is when business slows up, because, machines and stuff like that, that's kind of seasonal. You know what I mean? Unless you're plowing with it, you're not really plowing with an excavator, unless you're like removing snow, putting them in trucks so they could get them off of that particular site. But it gets hard, and it's like, all right, got to make something work. Like there's no option besides to make it work. Like this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I have. So by any means necessary, basically, just forward traction. don't even have to be a lot, as long as it's something. You know, sitting still is basically, I mean, Marine Corps wise is like, you know, now you're a risk. Now you're just a sitting duck, basically. So got to keep moving, got to keep moving, got to keep moving. And with business, it's just like, okay, what next? What can I come up with? What can I do? And just like with Legendary USA, it's like, all right, cool. We're coming up to summer. Like, what tank tops we're going to put out, what T-shirts, what lighter gloves for the summer. It's just season by season, constantly looking. And, you know, when I got into Legendary USA, I ordered a vest online. I just needed something, so I grabbed something. It came. It was too small. I'm like, well, that sucks. It's a waste of $100. I'm not going through the process of returning it and all that extra stuff. I'm like, well, that sucks. I'll just give it to one of my friends that's smaller than me. As I'm throwing away the whole box, I look at the packing sheet, and it says Brick, New Jersey. And I'm like, that's 30 minutes from my house. I'm like, call them up. A lady answers, talking to her. She's like, oh, no, like it is a store. Because I didn't know if it was like a middleman who gets it cheaper from this company and then sells it. So I go down there. I talk to a guy. His name is Chris. And we bullshitted for a little bit. Stayed in touch. And then, you know, it was a time in my life where I was just like, what are you going to do, man? You know, like, what are you going to do? And what I did was I tattooed my head. You know,
that was the decision, huh?
Right up front, the first one. Yes, it was the decision. Because
what am I going to do? I know.
I'm going to tattoo my head. You want to know why? Because then I didn't have a choice. I guess my odds of being hired at a regular company were lessened. Well, now you have no choice but to make something work for you. And that's what I did. And then the whole meeting Chris and all that other stuff. And after talking to each other, just, and, you know, riding, wearing the stuff, I'm like, hey, man, maybe you should, you know, add this or, you know, get rid of that or do that. And he did. And we made a vest with perforated leather because he didn't have any. And it did well. And he was like, oh, and then I gave him another idea, and it did well. And then he asked me, he's like, hey, man, you want to become a partner? And I'm like, yeah, actually I do. And then that's where it started, and we're at where we're at now, and we're doing pretty decent, man. We're doing all right.
I come and find that people who are in the military have some great discipline in them, and a lot of them come out and become successful because of that discipline. And you have like a high IQ, high quit attitude, right? And
I don't know about those guys. You're talking about like the generals and all those guys that write these books and things like that, not kids like me that were.
You have a high quit attitude. You're after it. You're looking for the next thing. You knew you wanted to do something. You tattooed your head. So you said, hey, it's over. I got to go in business. I got to do something. Not only did you become a partner in one company, you started another company. So I think the military discipline has a lot to do with it, because you're disciplined in the fact that you know what you want, you're going after it, and you're not letting anything get in the way. And
once you get that target, you know what I mean? You're on it no matter what. Yeah.
And I think that you think that comes from the military, the discipline that you learn, the things that you learn, because I've seen a lot of people that I've met, a lot of people that I've done business with, either they were, you know, like a state trooper or in the military, whatever it is, and that discipline that they have through the years has created a mentality that they fight for what they want no matter what, because that's the way that they're taught.
I 100% agree with that, but it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. Like, I struggled for years. Like this wasn't, you know, I got out of the Marine Corps a long time ago. I got out of the Marine Corps in 2011. So it's not anything new. But when I tell you, like, I just struggled for years, working here, working there. And then in 2019, I believe, I started to take life a little bit more serious. And I started a landscape company. I did that for a little bit, sold it. And then roughly around that time, maybe a year or two later, that's when I had met my partner Chris and started that. But yes, the military does very much so help you, but you know, it's not like all success, glorious story. I made millions. Like, no, like that is not it. I fell on my face and ate shit more times than I did good, and now, like I said, I'm just trying to learn it. I got my son now. I got
You have purpose now.
I do. You know, and I tattooed his birth date on my right hand because whether I go to wash my face or I go to brush my teeth or anything, I see it to be reminded like, hey, it's for him. You know what I mean? And you know, I have, you know, my 2 stepkids, you know what I mean? We got a little crew, you know what I mean? And we're doing the best we can, you know what I mean? And you know, their mother, she's honestly, she's my drill instructor. You know what I mean? Like she's the one that literally
Keeps you in
like,
line.
oh, you have no idea. And she's 5 foot tall. And like, you know what I mean? But
usually the
my
case,
senior
right?
drill instructor might have been like 5'3", but everybody was petrified of him. And she is that. She's very good at like sees me starting to drift off, and it's like an old typewriter, you know, it gets to the end and you whack it back. Like she's the hand that whacks it back and then like brings me more into focus because I get that I'm like, you know, I'm not doing this no more, like just talking shit, you know, and she just makes sure that stays in line. You know what I mean? So
how much different is now that you have a son? Since you've had your son, what did you start doing different in your life, and what made you think differently after your son was born than before he was born? Because I know when I had my first son, I'm having a kid, and as soon as that kid pops out, bro, literally in the hospital room, you're like, something shifts in your mind, right? You're like, fuck, like this is real.
Wild.
Right?
No, like actually wild. Like people like, and they, you know, my friends are having like, oh, you don't know, it's good. You know, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
And the second, like, I got goosebumps right now. The second they put that little shit in my hands, I'm like, fuck. All right, shit just got real.
yeah.
Like, shit just got real right now. And then it's like putting in the car seat, getting ready to take him from the hospital. I was yanking on it, pulling on it, kicking it, jumping it, making sure it was exactly what it needed to be. I'm like hazards on, doing like 45 on the parkway in the right lane, like getting mad, like at people flying past. I'm like, I got a kid in the car. You know, like it's just completely different. It's just completely different. There's no handbook to how to be a parent. There is none. And people that say that they know, they're full of shit. You know what I mean? Because it changes daily. It changes by the minute. You know what I mean? So it's just an eye opener. And it's like, okay, man, guess what? Now we really need to do something because it's not just me that needs to eat and have clothes and things like that. And as they grow up, they just cost more money. Like just constantly. Like,
So that time when you left the military, you fell on your face, you did all that stuff. I think that was a lot of lessons that you had to learn about you, a lot of things that you had to go through.
it's a big reality check.
And I truly believe like God doesn't put things in your life until you're ready. And, you know, you may have been ready prior to your son, but you still weren't there. You were still a fucking loose cannon, whatever you were doing. You're fucking unstoppable. You were bulletproof.
Literally.
I think as soon as your son, just from knowing you, as soon as your son, you know, came out, you were like, even on that drive home, you're like, can't do this no more. I'm not going to do this anymore. And you start thinking a little bit differently. So you were always in line, but you didn't have that purpose. Now, once you find that purpose and that passion is attached to it, your fucking world totally changes.
I was very like, before my son, I was just for that day, like the day. You got to get through the day. Then you get a son or a kid in general.
Right.
And it's like, okay, today, tomorrow, next week,
Next
next
5
month,
years.
next year. He's going to be 17 soon. He's fucking 3 days old. You know what I mean? He's not going to be 17 soon, but in my brain, I'm already there.
Yeah,
like,
right.
got to get a safe car. You know what I mean? Like, got to be in
Right.
my brain. And
That's a
then-
good mentality to have, though.
yeah, man. It's like you said, it completely changes and it unlocks like, I guess like in a video game when it like unlocks the next level, you know? And
Stop thinking about you.
yep. And I used to be real big into sneakers and things like that. And I can't tell you the last time that I bought Well, I can, but it's not as often as it used to be because if he doesn't have them, I don't have them. You know what I mean? It's and just like with my girlfriend's kids. Like, if he don't have it, or her daughter, who's 14 years old, you want to talk about challenging?
Oh yeah, I have a 15-year-old.
Oh Lord. Oh my God. It's
I
like
wouldn't know.
Little adults.
I never wanted to fight an individual more than that person, but you got to be like, okay, yeah, sure. All right, no problem. But at the same time, you know you will jump in front of a car or whatever the case may be. But she just gives me a hard time sometimes. You know what I mean? But they're like Sour Patch Kids.
Yep, sweet
They're
and
like,
then sour.
oh God. And then they're like,
sweet.
and they're like, oh, I'm like, oh God. what do you want to get? Like, what do you want? What do you need? Like,
Can we talk about that Harley Davidson that you built and the point that it has to a friend of yours? Can we talk about that?
yeah, my buddy Chris, the one that paints. Yeah, Chris at Evil One Customs.
Because it's like a tribute to him in a way, right?
Well, he's the one that painted it.
Right.
And Chris is now kicking the shit out of leukemia. And yeah, it's my homie. And you know, he's got a soft spot in my heart. You know what I mean? And to see him, bro, that motherfucking kid just rode from Cali to Tennessee by himself on his motorcycle. His shifter broke. He got a pair of vice grips in the rain the whole time. But the kid's got leukemia, man. Like, but you know what though? He was in the Marine Corps also, so he's half Filipino, half Irish. I call him the McNinja. He's like extremely. He's really really bright. Slight burnout, but he did not let that. He did a little bit at first, but you're in your 30s and they tell you got leukemia. Like he's like, what the, you know what I mean? So he, but let me tell you something. The kid didn't miss a step, man, and now he's really starting to catch traction in the industry. And he painted that bike was my father's. Keyword was Rick, if you're watching this, but he took it. He painted it. I just told him a couple of colors that my dad wanted, I wanted, and he just did his own thing. But when Chris was in the Marine Corps, he was an EOD tech. He was the guy that when you found an IED and you didn't hit it and get blown up, or any sort of improvised explosive device or any sort of explosives, he's the one that walked. You know, like you see the movie like Hurt Locker. Like,
Right.
I mean, he was really doing that shit.
That's
like,
wild.
so you got to give it to, you know what I mean?
That's wild.
He's smart. He's smart and he's got them.
Nimble little hands.
Yeah, them Filipino hands are, like, he's just perfect. Like, that's why he's good at pinstriping and all that other stuff because that's what he does. But that kid, he is also what motivates me. You
Yeah,
know what
I
I mean? The
remember
kids
when
in
you
it.
finished the bike, how proud you were, how much you promoted him, the post, everything. It meant a lot, even from someone I didn't know who he was. To today, I didn't even know who he was because I never really asked you. But just the amount of love that you poured out when all that was done, even from the helmet to the bike,
He painted Cholo because it was a Cholo bike, and he painted Cholo Rick on the back of the helmet for my dad because that's what we started calling my dad. But and he knows my dad, and my dad loves him, and he loves my dad, so it means that much more when it comes to me. I think it's the best looking paint job that I've seen. You know what I mean? And he just keeps progressing because the industry's constantly changing and things like that. From where there was like panel paint they used to on like the Dynas and things like that now they're putting on the performance baggers and stuff like that. And he that's what he does, man. And he does his thing. And he did not let that leukemia put him in a box. He was like, nah, man, I'm gonna live my life. I remember what meant the most to me was after the bike was painted, I loaded it up. We went down to Daytona, and he flew in. I picked him up, and I let him ride that bike. That's the bike that he rode. He was riding a little bit hard, in my opinion, but I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, hey, if he messes up the paint, well, guess what? He could fix the paint. You know what I mean? So I was okay with that, but anything I have is, he knows he could have whenever he wants it, needs it, even if he don't need it, but he wants it. It's his. Like that, I'm locked in with him for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing when somebody doesn't let the disease define them. And
No.
instead they define the odds,
He's
right?
just
That's
out-
typically the people that you find.
Just out here thugging. You know what I mean?
He's
Riding
killing
across
it.
the country with vice grips as a shifter.
Yeah, that's pretty.
But I'm not crying. My eyes are sweating, by the way.
Yes,
I love it.
inspiring.
I got
inspiring.
allergies, pollen in here.
Let me
You
get
know
this
what I mean?
I love that
Yeah,
you're
man.
vulnerable because
Gotta get rid of it.
a lot of people see people like yourself, people like me, big tough guy.
No.
You know what I mean? They don't realize like
No.
the big hearts that we have.
Yeah, I cry often. If you ask my girlfriend, makes fun of me all the time. She's like, he's always crying. Yeah, I do because
He's always
you know
crying.
what? You know what I think it is? I think I'm catching up for all the years that I couldn't be vulnerable. That's what I think it was.
Could
Your,
be.
and your
that's what I
story
think
and
it
your
is.
vulnerability will help so many people because you
And-
want to know why? Like even when I first met you, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? He's a dick.
I thought the same.
Right?
Fuck this guy,
we
damn,
we
fuck that
butted
guy.
we literally
Constantly.
almost fought each other.
Literally. At a
Literally,
rest stop. The one on the Parkway.
He's
rest
putting
stop.
gloves on. I'm sitting there like, all right, I'm about
Dan's
to
like, well, what
I'm
the
about to
fuck?
hit
I
this
mean,
dude.
I
What the
guess
fuck are we
so.
talking
Yeah,
about?
Dan's like, I
Whatever.
mean, if that's what you want to do, I guess so. Like, but yeah, no, and then
You come to realize who people are because
Are.
you see outside of them
and it's
what's
it's
going
messed
on.
up. You could always practice or preach like, shouldn't judge a book by its cover, especially because it happens to people
Us.
that with tattoos and
Yeah.
things like that so often, and like that is and we end up doing it ourselves, and I think that's what happened. I'm like, fuck this guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you were like, fuck this guy, like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, but now like I follow your journey. I think it's dope. So I reached out to you. I told you about people.
Yeah.
I saw that you had a few of them on. And
I respect
will in
what
the
you
future.
do. I love what you do. I love how you have a passion for what you're doing. And I love how you just like literally started this excavation company. You're like, hey, bro, like I'm buying this trailer and this machine. I'm like, okay, you're not pulling it with that truck, are you? I remember having that conversation.
yeah, I'm like, what the fuck? Now I gotta buy a new truck, man. Like, thanks, dick. You know what I mean? Like, but I sent it to you because I know know you know what you were talking about, and I was like, listen, this is what I want to do. Blah blah. And you're like, trailer, cool, machine, real nice. That truck, and I'm like, the fuck's wrong with my truck, man? We got to say. You're like, no, I'm just saying, if you're gonna be pulling stuff, I don't know if I'm really pulling it with that truck. Coming from the guy that looks like it's a show truck, it's with your work truck. So I mean, don't get it. I still use that truck, but I bought another. I don't use it every day, that truck. But yeah, man, and it's not. Nobody's ever done anything by themselves. And if they
100%.
have, I highly doubt that it went perfect. You know what I mean? Because who and what? Because I'm interested to know.
You
if they
can't
did,
build an empire or a legacy by yourself. You need a team. You need people behind you. You need people cheering you on. You need people helping you. And there's too many roles. You know, Anthony will tell you how many people he has working with him. There's too many roles to cover. And if we think that we can be superior and operate everything, there's so many things that we're not good at. Like you're talking about email. Like you probably don't even know how to hit send, right?
I
Like
literally think I have like 58,000 unread emails. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, and then I get the new phone, and Apple like got rid of them and like put like important ones. I'm like, oh shit, I only got 11 emails. Like, this is nice. Like, thanks for the, you know
Thanks,
what I mean?
Apple.
Yeah, thanks, Apple. But that's, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, we emailed you. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll check. I'm like, I have no idea. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean I have to CC somebody? What does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, and so that's where, you know, Brittany shines. She is in her zone with that. And, but even with Legendary USA, like, it is my influencers, the people that I have, like Jess Rips and Russ Rips. Out of those two, obviously, Russ is my favorite. You know what I'm talking about.
Shout out, Russ.
But shout out Russ. A girl, Jess, Bikes and Balayage on Instagram. Tanya, Pretty Mama. She's on the West Coast, so that, you know, gets my name out there, because obviously we're on the East Coast. And Chris, that, you know, that we were talking about, Evil One Customs, that painted my bike. He
So with
went
these
so hard for me.
influencers, I'm a little lost. So these
Yeah, so
paid
I have influencers, and they wear my stuff. They just rep me. You know what I mean? We have like an affiliate program where they
So I was curious
get a
about
code. And what's cool about that is why I like the way that we do it. My partner Chris found it or came up with it, and it's all done by a third-party company. So I can't jerk the numbers. They can't jerk the numbers. Everybody gets just a fair shake at it. You know what I mean? So that's really cool. And it's just the biggest part is being I don't know if you like tangible, being touchable. Like you can, you know, at bike shows, can't tell you the last time I wore a shirt that wasn't mine. You know what I mean? Like, why would I?
Right.
Why am I paying somebody else to advertise their stuff?
That's the biggest thing, branding. I
Branding.
wear my shit everywhere.
Every day of my life.
Yep.
I've made them for, you know, all the kids and stuff like that. And it just, that's the biggest part. Like I said, a lot of pretty mamas on the East Coast, and Tanya, Jess, Russ, and the other Jess, they just, and it's funny because one of them made a post. I'm not going to say my eyes watered again, but like they made a post and they're like friends that like became family. And like, that's what it is. Like if they called right now, like whether it's Maryland, Pennsylvania, Florida, or Cali, like I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that they're good. You know what I mean? And they're straight but it's just, that's all. It's who you surround yourself with, you know, and it's hard for me because, you know, you see all these people that seem like successful influencers and, you know, all these people, it's like, you gotta, it's like they spend money that they don't have to make you believe that they do have money. So in turn, you spend your money that you don't have to pay them so they can just blow smoke up your ass. You know what I mean? Like, we're just real people. We really ride. And that's how we know, like, this would be more comfortable if we did it like this, or this would work better when it goes like that. And that's why I love it, because I love riding motorcycles. It's my thing. So
what's your vision for Legendary USA, say 5 years? You're back on the pod 5 years from now, sitting in the exact seat. What are you telling us different then as you did now?
The only thing I could really think of is just tattooing a logo between my eyebrows. No, I'm just kidding. My mother was like,
coming
my
soon.
heart, right?
New
I was
tattoo.
having a panic attack. Maybe, I don't know. You know, we'll see tomorrow. But I just want it to be just a household name. You know, just a more common name. And like, again, the issues, everything being made in America, sourced from America, it's hard. You have companies with people that work for them or work in that company, own that company, that never rode a motorcycle in their life. They're there to get rich off of the culture, which I believe is safe to say is a culture vulture. You know what I mean? Like, you don't ride. You're just making stuff that is extremely cheap, and then when people go down and they're wearing it and it just rips to shreds and it does nothing. Like, we have horsehide, we got like bison, like whole gator, you know what I mean? Like whatever. And we have ones that are, you know, pre-made, different styles and stuff like that. Or if you want a custom vest, people contact us. We send them the email that says like what measurements we need, and then they build them a custom vest.
So you have a custom solution too.
Oh, no, you're
That's
not
fantastic.
sending that email.
No, I'm 100%. That's why I looked at you like sending an email. It ain't me. You know what I mean? But I just want people to have pride in America again. And I want people to have pride in what they put on, because I know, like, when we come up with the stuff of what we're going to make, like, I have nothing but pride. You know what I mean? That's why I wear it every day. I don't, you know what I mean? That's what I want. I just want to.
What about getting like your brand? So I've been to Harley dealers and they sell other company T-shirts and stuff. What about getting your brand into Harley? Not your vest, because they probably won't sell anything that's not their name, but it will open the door for you, no?
So what is hard about that is, you know, again, sourced and made in America, our cost is 100 times more expensive than a pair of gloves that are coming from overseas somewhere that cost $7 to make. You know what I mean? Per pair, shipped. You know, and but yes, that is a thing, and that is something that we're actually in the middle of working on, because again, you think HarleyDavidson, you're like, America. You know what I mean?
Name,
like,
yeah.
You're like, America. And
All right, nothing's made here.
yeah, well, I guess so. But when you think of it, you think of America. You know what I mean? But and if you don't start, no. But that's exactly what it is. And I put a lot of pride into it. Obviously, take pride in this country. You know, me and a bunch of my friends, went to war for it. And like a big thing also with that is it teaches you like you don't hate what's in front of you. Like, you know, you go to Iraq, you don't hate those people. You're just there because you love what's behind you. Like here, my family, my friends, my friend's family. You know what I mean? Like that's a big part of it. Just learning to adapt and overcome is something they say in the Marine Corps constantly because you're getting thrown a curveball and there is no option like, oh no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to fill those sandbags. Like, you're going to fill them sandbags whether you want to or you're not. Well, you're going to fill them. And it's just, again, you take something from one part of your life and then you got to, for instance, like parenting, right? You know from your dad what you want to use with your children, what you don't want to use with your children. From your mother, same thing. And then you kind of put them together, you know what I mean? And that's what it is. It's just looking through my bag of tools and see which ones are going to fit right here in this situation.
How do you wind down?
I don't.
How do you sleep?
Usually on my right side, but but it's hard.
You always thinking?
Yeah, thinking, and at one point in my life, I guess let's say before the companies and before my son, I thought about prior stuff, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? And now I think about the future. I think about tomorrow. You know, like, all right, you're doing a road opening. It's, you know, got to remove well over 20 tons of material, but then I also got to get that 20 tons back. And, you know, you're just constantly playing that through. But people look, you know, like, oh, man, why you always got to be so negative? Because, like, I seen the worst case scenario happen. I seen it, and it's not good. And I guess people that were in the military and deploy, worst case scenario is a lot different than a regular civilian's worst case scenario, because our worst case scenario is usually like death. You know what I mean? The civilians people only had to stay at 8 o'clock tonight. Like, what the fuck? Like, that is too different. That is apples and oranges. You know what I mean? So I do everything I can to avoid anything that I think of that could go bad. I do. I put in whatever I have to do to make sure that they don't happen. I try to do that. Does it work every time? Absolutely not. Does it work 50% of the time? Absolutely not. So
when do you come to a point where like you just like say, you know what, I can only control what I can control. Like I need to stop worrying about that because all the situations that you made up in your head on how this is going to go or how this is going to go. You're definitely a shower conversation guy. You definitely talk to yourself in the shower. 100%. And when do you come to yourself and say, you know what, like all these preconceived things I think about, like they're not even happening this way. You know, like let go. It's just going to end up the way it ends up, and I'm going to be my best. I'm going to do my best. And like if you were to do that, how different do you think things would be?
Well, I still don't know the answer to that. I actually asked myself that question in the shower this morning. You're going to stop, dude. Like, come on, you got to give me a break.
The answer is never.
Never. I don't know. But then again, I kind of don't know if I wanted to. Because then what happens? Then you get complacent.
Then you go back to being first
What
day
I
back
was
from
prior.
the military.
Yeah. And
not knowing what to do.
They always say, I remember there was a sign every time we went back to the main base. And we would leave. It was just a gigantic piece of plywood that somebody wrote. And it just, they spray painted complacency kills. Mm-hmm. And like you see it happen, like, you know, okay, a new unit comes in. The unit that was there, they do like a left seat, right seat thing, you know. They, let's say the old unit, somebody from the old unit is driving the truck. Somebody from the unit is passenger, you know, loaded up like that. And they go, they do that left seat, right seat, and then there's guys, you know, you hear stories and things like that, like, guy's got 4 days left before he leaves, you know what I mean? And gets out of the truck, doesn't do his 5s and 25s, like, doesn't look, pay attention, boom, steps on something, dead, kid never made it home.
Crazy.
And it's because he got complacent. He was too far ahead. Listen, I would really like to speak to somebody and have a conversation with somebody that says they could decipher like the whole, like how far to think ahead, you know what I mean, and not lose their mind in the process.
I don't think I was really putting it on that, and I agree with what you're talking about complacency, but I'm talking about like worry. Like we worry about situations that are out of our control.
Yeah.
And we try to always figure out how can we control something that we can't control ultimately. I understand planning ahead. I understand, knowing what our next move is. 100% all entrepreneurs do that. But there comes a point also in entrepreneurship where we get this anxiety, this worry about being the best, being our best, showing up our best, getting the best results. And then almost sometimes we become disappointed in ourselves because we're not delivering, because we're working ourselves up so high, not realizing that we have no control of that outcome.
And I think it's just the insanity of itself altogether, because it's like, planning ahead, like how far ahead is too far ahead, and how close to the point in time where you are right now are you missing something? Like, you know what I mean? Where we draw that line, like where are you missing? But I don't think that ever stops. I think that is like just a revolving door. But at the same time, if you could somewhat get a handle on it, I'm like, well, better than yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, I did better today. But again, I have no idea. I don't know when that stops. What I try myself is I give it like the 10-step method. It's just like, I just try to think, everyone's like, I'm 10 steps ahead. Like 10 steps ahead is actually 45 minutes into the future. Like, you know what I mean? Because like, it's not real life. Like, I'm 10 steps ahead of you, but okay, so you're right
You're
here.
at the door.
You're
right
liteally talking to me right now. Is that
The
the
most
10 steps
literal
ahead? You know what I mean?
sense
Like,
of the term.
like it's not, that's why they're like, 10 steps ahead, but it's just, it doesn't. And then what I have realized, not mastered, but realized, and like put light on it in my brain, is like, you end up getting so infatuated on that, like, the next. It's like I am missing little dumb stuff. I was going to say shit, but little dumb shit that's right here, right now. I end up overlooking it because if I only
Not
have
present in the moment.
you lose yourself. And like, I get it. The anxiety and things like that. How I do my best to look at anxiety is like a bank account. The more you put into it, the bigger it gets.
Personal development. Yep.
The bigger it gets until you have an anxiety attack or, you know what I mean? Things like that. So that's how I do my best to look at it. It doesn't always work, you know what I mean? But and another thing that, how you're talking about the head-to-head, everybody's like, oh, I want to be a millionaire. Listen, and this might sound like bullshit or whatever the case may be. Obviously, generational wealth. And that's actually funny because you started to talk to me about that. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck is he talking about? Generational wealth. Like, fucking, get a life insurance policy. But like when you but you never really sat and broke it down to me. But watching your podcast, your shorts, things like that, I'm like, oh, that's what that son of a bitch, man. You know what I mean? I'm like, I thought he was drinking. You know what I mean? Like that, just the way that you were just like, fucking. And I'm like, yeah, 7. I'm all right.
Sounds
like,
good.
I'm like, yeah, sure, dude. Like 7. And you're like 7. I'm like, all right, cool, man. Like, I had no idea what the hell you were talking about because I really didn't care enough to care, if that made sense. Or I didn't care enough to look. But that was before the machine and things like that. So if you're a one-trick pony, you know what I mean? All right, cool. We have really good odds of pulling that off, at least half decent to be profitable. But you add something else in the mix, it's like, oh shit, like this is real life. Now you got 100 things going on, you know what I mean? And I'm like, that's why you're like, AI. I'm like, AI, like Allen Iverson. You're like, no, man, like the computer. I'm like, the computer, like I got a phone, dude. And you're like, it works on that. But you just have to talk to people, man, and I understand the goal, millionaire, and go like that. It's just, at the end of the day, how I really, truthfully, my view on it is like, in 20 years, the only people that are going to remember that you worked late are your kids. You got a baby for like 4 years. My son's 5. He called me dad the other day, and I'm like, wait a minute, time out. Don't ever do that again. It's dad. You know what I mean? And like, I'm I'm not ready for that. You know what I mean? Like, don't, it's dad, or nothing. Like, or don't talk to me. You know what I mean? But I was like, oh, I'm like, and then right
Maturity.
there goes your, what you were talking about, thinking ahead. I'm like, oh, he's going to be driving next week. So, you know, and it's like you said, you just, what I would love to do is just be able to make sure my family's straight, my friends are straight, and enjoy the time with the kids while we have them. Because like I was saying, you know, my stepdaughter's 14. She already doesn't want me to like pop up places because I'm like, you know, like real loud, like I, you know what I mean? I'm not that. She's like, oh my God. She turns bright, her head gets in the car, melts in the seat. Bruh, what are you doing? You know what I mean? But it's the time with them. I don't know that happy medium in between, or like what is enough and what is not enough. But I'm just trying
You'll
to
never
figure
be
it
able
out.
to be balanced, but
I
at
don't
least
think
you know
so,
why.
like-
At least you know why you're doing what you're doing, and you know, putting money secondary is super important, because if you put money first and you're not really driving for the reason why you're making money, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to satisfy the people you're making the money for. So if you can give advice to you know, somebody, you know, your younger self, or somebody in the audience who just you know, maybe feels stuck, doesn't know what they want, like what kind of advice would you give someone to be their absolute best, fight to be their absolute best, to become the Ricky you are today compared to who you were maybe 15 years ago?
I think the only difference between Ricky now and Ricky 15 years ago is just a lot more stress and weighed on me. You know what I mean? But I am very glad that you agreed with what I said, because I meant to wear my steel toe boots. I was not hit you in the shinks. I do like, you need capital before you. You know what I mean? I thought that's the route that you were going to go, and I'm like, son of a, that was going to whack you in your shin real quick. But it's the only thing that I would tell my younger self is like, Rome wasn't built in a day, man. It wasn't. Like I said to you earlier, it's okay to make mistakes. That's why they put erasers on pencils and even some pens. It's going to happen. Like nobody could be perfect. Nope. And if I had an argument, someone was like, oh, Floyd Mayweather, undefeated. I'm like, yeah, but he stole off on that one dude. Yeah. And that's the only reason he got that off. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it might have been different. But you don't know. You know what I mean? And my dad always has a saying. He's like, you know, we could play the what if game all day. What if my sister had balls? She'd be my brother. You know, what if? Like, and I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't understand it. I'm like, it's not making no sense. He doesn't understand me. You know what I mean? But it's just, you know, I think the biggest thing is it's just, and it sounds very cliche. It's like you're gonna fail. Like, count your failures more than you count your successes, because that'll keep you humble. That'll keep you, you know, keep you. You got to remember that. You have to remember every time you fell on your face. People are like, oh, I don't want to think about that. Well, you have to, so you don't do it again. Yeah. I failed.
Or if you do it again, you know, get up quicker. You know,
that's it. I've been here before. This is familiar. And then, like you said, you can jump back up on your toes. But it's just everybody stresses the money. Everybody stresses the money, and when you put the money first, it's like these other competitors that make, you know, the vests and stuff. They got wild money, and they throw it, and they get all these what they think are, you know, the upper echelon of, you know, these influencers. They're not. And what happens is, then those influencers start leaving them. And then I get informed that they're in our email, not my email, because I don't open them. You know what I mean? But then they come because they're like, oh, like you're like real people, and you're out here moving. You're not just some big corporate. You have to keep things on a personal level. You got to be able to talk to whoever you need to talk to. And what I was saying to you was it's a little hard for me because my head's tattooed, and they're like, oh, she looks very aggressive. I'm like, dude, my eyes sweat all the time. You know what I mean? Like all the time. And, you know, and then I end up talking to the homeowner, who's a, you know, little old lady. And then she's calling the company saying that I'm subcontracted for. They're calling saying, I love Ricky. I only want Ricky to be here. He's such a sweetheart. Bring my garbage cans in, or did this or did that. Because I like to think to myself, I'm like, I treat other people like if I'm speaking to a woman, I speak with them. I speak to them with the same respect that I would expect anybody to speak to my mother or my sister or my girlfriend, or you know what I mean, or the kids. Like that's what I try to do. I just treat them how I want my, mother, sister, father, everybody to be treated. And that's it's just very hard. You know what I mean? But as long as you stay consistent and try and do 1% better or 0.5% better, that's cool with me, man. That's what I try to do.
Stay true to yourself, right?
Yeah, because if you lose yourself, man, you lose everything.
I think we have a legendary comedy coming soon. Maybe that's your next brand. This guy could
I'm
get on
not
stage.
gonna lie. I was texting, the people that are in my life, and I'm just like, I'm all nervous. They're like, dude, just be you.
Yeah.
Like, because people all the time, like, you gotta have somebody following you around with a camera. I'm like, if they did, it would just be one constant beep. You know what I mean? Because like I just curse a lot, and man, I'm me, and I've been me for 38 years, and like I don't know if I could change, but I can try to guide like the type of person that I can be. But again, if you stress on something too much and you're infatuated with one thing, what about all the other things that are around you? Where do they go? Well, they start piling up, and then they dog you when you get jumped by all those other things. When you come out of that moment of focusing on one thing, but you know what? You get the money. Like my whole life, remember? Not that I listened to Britney Spears. I had a younger sister, but that song, it's like Lucky. It's like everybody thinks, oh, she's so lucky, she's a star, but at night she cries. You know what I mean? Like people always say it's lonely at the top. Like it is, because majority of the time you stepped on everybody else's head and pushed them underwater so your foot didn't get wet to get to your goal. And then what? I got a lot of money, but what are you doing? What are you doing with it? To me, I would just like to have some money and have all my friends out on a boat, or you know what I mean? Or that's cool. I am beyond cool with that, man. I'm all about that. I just rather see the ones around you happy, because if they're not, then what? But that goes into the whole thing, the handout. Like, when you started to catch traction with whatever one of your however many companies, people come out of the woodworks like, I haven't talked to you since like 6th grade, man. Like, where you been? Like, oh no, you're hiring, right? I'm like, no, man. Like, I'm actually not, because I just want to put my whole team on. And by my friends, I mean I give them all jobs. Like, hey man, here you go. Like, here's a job, and like this is it. Like, if you fuck it up, you fuck it up. Like, that is on you. Don't say that I did not give you the opportunity, because and I love it. Nothing makes me happier than to see like my friends care more about my stuff than I do. And that's like, oh, that's when the light bulb goes off. Like, oh, like he really, really is in it. He's not just trying to, you know what I mean, bang up whatever he can, not really care and get a paycheck. Like once they start, but at first, it happens. I remember I got the first scrape on my brand new machine, and I wanted to lose it. I'm like,
it's gonna get dirty.
I know it is, but it kills me.
Once you get past the first one, though, you're all good
all
from
there.
there.
It's all downhill from there. You know what I mean? Traded in a year.
Yeah, fucking throw rocks at it.
But like you said, like every time I see you, like whether we were out on the bikes or we were even here, like all your stuff looks good. I'm a firm believer in like look good, feel good, do good. Sure. That's why I get crap, because kids. The boys are like, oh, we're playing baseball. I'm like, all right. Kid's 8 years old. He's a $250 bat. And, like, he's hit a few, but not many. But it's like, the cleats and, just get them pit vipers, you know what I mean, out in field. Like, they're quads. They're all done up and things like that, because it's just, I don't know. That makes me, I don't even, mine doesn't even run that great. You know what I mean? But theirs are mint, all done up, handle, anything you could buy for it, it has. Mine, it's just there. You know what I mean? Like it's just there, but it makes me so much happier to know that like you can make other people feel good, man, because
That's beautiful.
you have no idea. Like the hat method that I always talk about, like, all right, man, life sucks and all this other stuff. If us three went out and found 3 or 4 other random people. And we said, hey, top 3 problems in your life right now, write them down on this piece of paper, crumble it up, throw it in the hat. Now, we're all going to pick one out of there. And the only rule is you can't pick yours. I guarantee anyone you pull, you would say, yeah, can I have my problems? You know what I mean? Like, can I have my problems back? Because you never know, man.
Well, that's the
People are
purpose of
going
this
through
podcast here, is to solve one of those problems for one person once a week, right?
And
So
you've put it out there, and somebody might say something that makes something click with somebody
100%,
watching, man.
Can't even tell you how many times I've
And
been
right
listening to
then
something.
and there, that's worth it, man.
So you're a exceptional human being, prideful, driven, focused, a little bit loopy. Love that.
Yeah,
but
that ain't going nowhere, man. That's been prior to the.
You're shamelessly you, and I absolutely love that. And I know Dan could attest because he's the one who brought you here. But if someone's looking for your attire or looking for some excavation work, how could they find you?
With Legendary USA, that's everything: Facebook, Instagram. The website's legendaryusa.com. Legendary Machine Works. It's on. I just have it on Instagram because what I'm doing now is I'm pretty locked in with a company that was subcontracting. But again, as you always say, you gotta build the brand, the brand, and that's what I'm doing with that. As far as getting other machines and other trucks and stuff like that. So I'm not just tied up on one job.
Right.
But along with that, comes the revenue to build that back up, to pay for that, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to be robbing from Peter to pay Paul, taking money from Legendary USA to pay this. Hey, man, this is its own entity, and it will be self-sufficient. Might not be the greatest thing or making millions, but every day, my friends and people that I know that work are going to work, and they got a job, and you know what I mean? It helps them take one check off the list. You know what I mean?
You're doing it right, and tax purposes, it's good that you have multiple companies, but definitely don't utilize funding from one for the other. So you're doing it smart. You've came a long way. You're doing big things. You still have so much more to go, and the reason why you're doing what you're doing obviously is embedded in you. And money's not first, which I love. And a lot of times people look at successful people, they think that we're money driven, but we're driven for other reasons, and money's secondary. And once you get a grasp of that, life just totally changes. So we appreciate you being on the show. Thank you for your time. And hey, guys, if you're not following us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, go ahead and do so.
Give us a follow and share. Thanks so much.